tipping is crazy in America. Awesome. Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Ashleigh here. So I put out a video talking about reverse culture shocks of moving to Australia from America. And I went back to the States in January, Feb, and just different things stood out to me a lot more than ever before. And for those of you asking, reverse culture shocks are different from culture shocks, because reverse culture shocks are you go back to where you came from and realize things in a new light. And it happens a lot to people that move abroad and visit back home or move back home, and different things kind of shock you in ways that it hadn't for however many years you lived there. Make sure you subscribe, because I do a lot about, you know, being a foreigner in Australia, life in Melbourne now that I live here. So the video that I did pick up some traction, which still blows my mind to this day. And some big channels did react to it. Okay, so the first one is by Ryan West. I think a lot of you, well, my analytics say that a lot of you guys who watch some of my content do watch him. So, also the funny thing is I don't find out that people react to my stuff unless someone tells me normally. So shout out Mel, a friend of mine on Instagram, sent it to me and was like, hey, did you know that this person reacted to your content? I was like, no, thank you.
American, I think, moved to Australia, came back. Now we got some reverse culture shots. I think that's a fascinating topic.
Well, thank you for saying it's an interesting topic, because I find all of this stuff really interesting. And I love talking about it. So you should subscribe.
How weird would that be, coming back to your own country and you feel out of place?
Reverse culture shocks. So these are my reverse culture shocks of going back to the US after moving to Australia. So this trip home, more than anything, I realized how extreme the tipping culture has gotten.
What's interesting, as I know just from following along in the Australian subreddit and stuff every week, is that the tipping culture in Australia has progressed from like very, very low to very low. You know, because I see people in there complaining about tipping or being shown a tip screen at different things.
Whereas tipping in Australia, at least my understanding, and again, please correct me in the comments, especially people that work currently in hospitality or have a small business and are more in tune with this than I am, is so there's a lot of businesses, or specifically I'm referencing like hospitality, like cafes, restaurants, where a tipping screen will just automatically come up, but that's the software, and the employee on the other end will like quickly hit no, or it's understood that you just hit no because it's just an automatic screen that comes up in like the software of whatever FPOS machine they're using. That's one explanation I heard. And then also two is that I just never tip in Australia. I was told, similar to New Zealand, you really only tip if you have like a really expensive fancy meal at like a really nice restaurant, and if you want to tip you can. But in Australia they don't rely on tips because they actually make a decent wage, specifically hospitality workers, whereas I grew up working in hospitality and making $8 an hour. Over the last couple years since the pandemic, like when I was growing up, I was told like, okay, if someone gives you amazing service, like table service or something like that, 10%. And then as I went into uni, it, with inflation and everything, went to 15, and then...
I sympathize with anybody who's working for tips, but the whole inflation thing is a little bit odd because, you know, you're already tipping a percentage of your bill. So why should, you know, if the prices go up on the bill, then that makes your tip higher. You know, even if it stays 10%. So what?
That is a great point, and I didn't think of that when first chatting about tipping in general is, well, yeah, with inflation, naturally, the prices are going to go higher, so then you're just going to get a higher, like, amount, but the same percentage, which makes it even more messed up that in America, like I said in my original video, tipping did very much go from, I was told, okay, 10% is a great place to start, then 15, and then 20, and now places expect 25% of the bill, which is insane in the States. Why?
Should the percent have to go higher on the amount you tip? It's unbelievable to me how, when I was growing up, tipping 15% was good. Now that's low. Now 20% is considered like standard, and
it's insane.
A lot of people tip more than that.
it's, oh my gosh, it's just so insane. I'm really relieved that like he's on my side. We're on the same page. Tipping is crazy in America. Awesome. Post-pandemic, at least where I was from in the US, it was 20%. And leaving the US beginning of 2022, I had no qualms about it. I was like, nope, this is the norm. You tip for this. And even going back to the US, because I've been back to the US a couple times since I've moved over to Australia, and it's like stood out to me a little bit, but I kind of just like put off the side, like, you know, I grew up used to it, so it's not that big of a deal. But I don't know what it was this time around that the tipping just felt so out of control. I've never been chased out of a bar aggressively for being told that I didn't tip enough.
What?
When in my opinion, I felt that I was receiving zero service at all. I had to go find my own glasses. I had to go find the bottle of wine. The customer gave it to me. And then a random person, I don't know if they worked at the bar, followed me and my brother across the street and approached us and was calling us mean names. And that's just never happened to me.
Holy crap. That's never happened to me either. Maybe that's because I'm used to a little bit of southern hospitality. I don't know where this woman is from, but holy crap. That is ludicrous.
Yeah. And still to this day, it's funny watching back this video because I haven't watched it back in a really long time, is very much so, it's still insane to me. Like, I still talk about it all the time with my partner and my brother that we were chased across the street. We were just waiting for our Uber and we were called like really rude names. And he looked like genuinely he wanted to get physically aggressive. Like, he started to, but it looked like he was willing to physically fight us because he thought that we didn't tip enough when it was for a bottle of wine for the table. We had to find our own glasses. A customer who was at the bar passed us the bottle. Like, this, no one came around the bar or passed it to us or was like, hey, here's your bottle, glasses are over there. Didn't bring us glasses, like literally did nothing. Just gave us a snarky like glance, and then a random person, probably drunk or at least tipsy, chased us across the street. Like, what, did he think that we were gonna go back and just be like, oh yeah, here's an extra $20 for your good Samaritan deed of complaining that people aren't tipping enough? Like, what?
We went to a bar. It was a $10 cover just to get into the bar. I don't know if they do that down under, but you know. If it...
No, the only time I've ever seen a cover is, I actually maybe don't even have any concrete evidence of this. I think the only time a cover is used, similar to it is in the States, is if it's like a club, like a really sleazy club. Like, I'm thinking of a few, not to name names, in Hobart, Tasmania, where I lived for 2 years, that I heard people go to. I don't think so. I don't think it's as insane. Well, not anywhere near as insane as in the States, because it's quite common. I'm interested to see what he has to say, that a lot of the time just to get into a bar, especially a more popular one, that there is a fee just to even get in, like before you even buy anything.
Popular bar, or if they've got live music, $10 just to get in. And on the screen, how much do you want to tip? How much do you want to tip on your cover to get into the bar?
Who are you tipping? America, what the actual F? Oh my gosh. This, more than anything, this is just really validating because, I mean, this is absolutely insane. America, what the actual F? Tip for a cover. Who is the tip going to? The bouncers? That like barely look at your ID? Or like the amount of times that people are like, I can't find your date of birth on the ID. And I'm like, okay, well, I can give you my American one, which literally the bouncer will be, like, I'll be going to a bar in the state that I grew up in New Jersey, and I still have a New Jersey license, and I'll show him my New Jersey license, and I'm just like, what would I be tipping for? If your sole purpose is, one, protection for, again, don't have experience being a bouncer, so if I'm wrong, please let me know. But your sole interaction with me is trying to find the date of birth on my license, but you can't even find the date of birth on my license normally. And it's not like an old license. Like, it's an in-date. Anyway, okay.
They're literally just standing at the door taking your money.
Yeah.
That's the service they're providing.
Yep.
Taking your money to get into the bar. And it says, how much do you want to tip? On top of the cover.
And it's really jarring going from Australian culture back to American culture, that's for sure. Like, another example is I was at the airport and it was a self-serve kiosk, and I scanned my own item. I was paying in the FBOS machine, and it was like, do you want a tip? And I'm like, but who am I tipping? I went and I got the item. I'm scanning my item. There's not...
Anytime, here's what it is. I think I have figured it out.
Let's hear it. Oh my gosh. Oh my god, okay.
After this bar experience, the businesses, the owners, whoever, have figured out that anytime a transaction is being done with a card, to them, in their eyes, there's no downfall, there's no downside to just asking if they want a tip. Even if it's on the dumbest, most nonsensical transaction you could possibly think of. You know what I mean? Like, you could probably go to your bank and pay a late fee, and they'd be like, okay, how much do you want to tip on it? I don't know about that. But anytime you're swiping a card, they've all ticked off that box on their, point of sale software.
Yeah, that's interesting, because that kind of goes back to the point I was making about tipping in Australia, or how it's not really a thing. It's more so just, it's an automated thing in a lot of softwares. And yeah, in the States, I guess it's just very much like, well, it's worth a shot. People are used to tipping and used to paying whatever. So, but like in a busy airport, and it's like there isn't even like a person standing at the self-serve kiosk. Like, you know how, well, here in Australia, at Woolies or Kohl's or, well, like Target in the US, and I think some grocery stores now, where there's a lot more self-service, there's always someone that's at least stationed to the self-service. And it's like, okay, they're normally dealing with like really annoying customers who don't know how to scan something, or there's an issue with like the bag or the weight or whatever. But it's like at this airport kiosk, there wasn't even a person standing there. And I was just like, who am I tipping? Because it was like a marketplace of like maybe 10, 15 different businesses. And I'm like, so who am I tipping? Because logistically, if I'm tipping for like the sandwich that I picked up and I scanned myself, who would I be tipping? Because there's no person working. There's no, like, would they split it between like the 10 different groups of businesses? I don't know.
Ask a customer for tip? Yes. Yeah, sure, why not? Why not? Even if most people say no, or if half say no, we're going to make a little more money. So might as well. I think that's the explanation. And it's ridiculous. And I gladly put down 0. 0! I'm not tipping on a cover to get into a bar.
No one. I'm like, who am I tipping? Am I tipping the robot? Like, I'm genuinely confused. And there's also so many like hidden service fees now in
They should be tipping you for a self-service. They're replacing their labor with you. You're doing the work. They tip you. Should give you a discount.
That I experienced and stuff. And I also want to preface, I completely understand that there are still so many industries in the US that are severely underpaid. Well, I mean, unanimously worldwide, but specifically in reference to like the service industry in the US, I completely understand. And
okay, well, the rest of the world figured it out.
True. Yeah, the rest of the world did figure it out, and people seem to be happy. I guess I just feel like, especially on the internet, I have to do so many disclaimers because it's the internet. And yeah, great point though. I think
this has got me fired up now.
I think now it's just become so out of control, and it's really overwhelming. Number 2, just the service industry in general is so different. The level of service, like going off the tipping thing, on top of the increased frequency of tipping in the US, I also feel like the service has just gone down severely, like the standard of service, which again, to play devil's advocate, I
kind of have that same feeling as well. I do have that same feeling. It feels like this generation that's coming in to these like service jobs, you know, mostly Gen Z people, they're kind of like fed up with it all and with...
Yeah, that's a great point, because definitely, I forget if I make the example in my original video, but I specifically remember going into a cafe, again, in my home state, and I walked in and it was a self-serve kiosk and at a cafe, and it was like, place your order for coffee, like, do you want a tip? And I was like, I can't remember if I tipped a little bit just because I felt bad or if I just said no, but then it was like someone younger, like probably around 18, behind the bar, like didn't even say hello, didn't even look up at me, like literally looked like they hated their life, and it was just such a not welcoming atmosphere. And I understand that they're fed up for so many different reasons in the States, but if just the bare minimum, just say hello, hi. You don't have to like ask me how my day is. Be like, hi, acknowledge my existence if I'm coming into your cafe.
Inflation, they're like barely getting by with that job and the tips they make, and they're just like, they're not as cheerful to assist you. That's the vibe I get.
I understand and agree that service
Can you really blame them? I don't know.
workers in the US very much so deserve to get paid more, but also I just feel like in Australia, the minimum service standard, as a result maybe of the increased wages comparatively, the service standards are just so much higher. Let me know if you...
How crazy is that? You tip less, but the service standard is higher.
Yes. It's a crazy concept, which I'm so happy that I can have discussions like this on the internet and chat with people about it, because going back to the US and feeling like the standard has gone into the ground, but the cost of it, including tipping, and, you know, obviously as well, tax isn't included in the States, so that's another added thing. It's freaking insane. It is insane. It like literally blows my mind. And I love that, yeah, we can chat about it together, because please explain. Like, I genuinely confused. I've noticed that too, if you've been to both the US and Australia and have noticed differences in just like the service standards. And there was like a kiosk that, it was like a self-serve kiosk at a coffee shop. Oh yes, this is the example I was just explaining. Okay. And it kind of took me aback that the person behind the counter like didn't even greet me, didn't even look my way. I was just at like the self-serve kiosk and then asked for a tip, and I was like, I mean, I tipped, but I kind of felt a bit uncomfortable. I don't know, it would have just made me feel a bit more comfortable if you said hi.
That's wild to me. That's wild. The service is better and you don't have to tip nearly as much.
In Australia, it is so custom in so many cafes. The barista brings you your drink, and you don't have to clean the table yourself afterwards, whereas in the US, most cafes that I've been to, it's custom that you go up and get the drink yourself, and then you bus the table yourself. There's bus bins, and some places even have like...
And then you tip.
Sanitizer bottles. Yeah, and then you tip. Like, you get the coffee yourself. A lot of places do have bus bins with aggressive signs saying, please clear your table, and sanitizer to wipe your table, and then put your things in. But then when you order the coffee, you are paying not only for the coffee, the tax, and the tip. Please explain. To wipe down the table yourself.
That's ridiculous. I've actually never seen that. You wipe down the table yourself? Man, they don't know where to stop. You know what I mean? They have no shame. It just keeps sinking lower and lower, I guess, because people will do it. They just slowly introduce these new things.
I do find that really interesting. And you guys know me, of course I'm going to comment about it, and I love making videos about it, but it's just like, I mean, none of these topics are revolutionary. Like, none of these are like prime original topics, but it just really got to me. And just really...
It's always interesting hearing an individual's perspective on it. I never get tired of hearing it.
Really caught me. That's really sweet. Thank you. Guard. Especially getting chased out of a bar, violently yelling and calling myself, Brady, and my brother names.
That's insane. That is actually freaking insane. I just can't even, like, what? This type of thing makes me mad. So what you order has always rubbed me the wrong way, because it's like, oh yeah, I decided to get the table a nice bottle of wine. The bottle of wine was $70 and now I have to tip. Why do I have to tip $20 on top for just the bottle of wine that all you did was open?
Literally. But the thing is no, yeah, I think the bar did open it, but like I had to go get the bottle myself.
It's not any different than cracking open a beer. But because it costs $70, now I have to pay you $20 just to do that.
Because this person didn't think that we tipped enough. Yeah, it just makes me sad, because it's like, I understand both sides. I'm just going back to the tipping thing. I understand both sides to an extent, working in a service.
No, at the point that they chase you out down the street, no, I don't understand both sides. I kind of get that vibe. Like, I've actually never heard anyone talk about this service in Australia. But I just can tell it would be good. I mean, now I've heard her talk about it, so I know that's confirmed. But you guys are just kind of like nice, happy people.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I know some people have said that they've traveled to the States and are from Australia and have noticed that the services say better in the US. And obviously everything's subjective, but at least like comparing like years of living in the US versus now years of living in Australia, I definitely see a difference.
That's probably the number one best thing about living in Australia. It's just, you guys just seem relatively positive. It was mostly about tipping, which I could listen to. I could rant about it all day.
Really great reaction and really informative. I haven't watched his channel before, but yeah, thank you so much. And again, I'll have his video linked down below if you want to go check more of his stuff out, subscribe to him, all of that jazz. Yeah, just really nice to hear. Well, I think unanimously people can just chat about how crazy tipping is in the States, especially just in general. Anyway, okay. Well, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you guys, and I will catch you guys next time. Oh my God, I'm just so happy that tipping isn't a thing in Australia.